It's amazing how the game of football elicits hope when one individual player comes out of the lineup and returns to the lineup. As Zach Collaros, after missing 2 games with a head injury, is back for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers Week 17 as they take on the Hamilton Tiger Cats at home. It's orange shirt game at Princess Auto Stadium. What's it going to be? 12, 13 straight sellouts. Incredible. But as is the case in football, sometimes you got to shuffle the roster a little bit. Sometimes things, they come at you. You got to make changes. You got to figure things out. The show must go on. So let's bring in Taylor Allen of the Winnipeg Free Press, a true journalist in this sports talk game. What's going on, Taylor? Good to have you. Welcome.
Yeah, thanks, man. I mean, hey, I'm just as disappointed as everyone else that you guys got to listen to me this week instead of the one and only Chris Walby, the legend himself. I got some huge shoes to fill, obviously, in more ways than one. But yeah, Darren, happy to be on. I think it's been like 2 years since I've been on Bonfire Sports. So yeah, it feels good to make my return. Yeah.
It's been we've been a healthy team. We've been a healthy team. And just to let everybody know, everybody is okay. Okay. I'm playing hurt right now. It's that time of year, under the weather. Nobody's feeling 100%. Walby, he's on the 1-game injured list. He's good. He'll be back next week. Sends his best to everybody. But we're giving him week 17 to get back to 100%. Not quite in game shape. I'm barely in game shape, and kind of showed it this week. We got lots to get to on the show. We're going to talk about Collaros. We're going to talk about the CFL rules, of course, the huge white elephant in the room, and of course the Bombers and Ticats matchup just a week and a bit removed from their meeting in Hamilton, where we saw maybe the worst of Chris Streveler, and now that whole Chris Streveler experience, the Strevelation, is put on the side burner as Zach Collaros returns. But Taylor, I know we talked about this coming into the show. I just wanted to take a moment before we get started. For all of you out there, you guys have watched my work for many years. We've been doing this on YouTube for 4 years now. My time at TSN Radio prior to that, I've always taken my job with a lot of seriousness. And I work my tail off to provide you out there, the Bombers fan, the CFL fan, the sports fan, the Winnipegger, the Manitoban, the Canadian, whoever you are out there, with good content and good insight, good perspective. And this week, as the news of the Canadian Football League's new rules rolled out, I joined Matthew 𝘎𝙤𝙤𝙧𝙯 and Joaquin Gage, the former Edmonton Oilers goaltender, on Edmonton Sports Talk in Alberta on Monday afternoon. And I shared a story in talking about the new rules and Commissioner Stuart Johnson, his time with TSN. And I shared a perspective that I've been racking my brain about all week long. And that is a story I told about a Grey Cup of years gone by. And I said, I quote, "I think it was Stuart Johnson," end quote. And to paraphrase the rest of the story, that it was a TSN executive speaking to moving to 4 downs. I have been looking feverishly all week for that tape, for that record. I cannot find it. I cannot corroborate my memory. And while I would never fabricate, of course, never fabricate something, I have to face the reality that this is an instance, a memory of mine from years gone by, an event that may not have happened. So I regret the error. I regret sharing that story. I cannot corroborate it. So I wouldn't want someone putting that on my name. I don't want to put that on Stuart Johnston's name, or anybody else. Yeah, that's that. Wanted to kind of clear the air on that. And of course, that transparency, that journalistic integrity and correction, important for me to share with everybody out there. But Taylor, let's get to the facts of this game. Maybe we'll save the rules talk for a little bit later. Let's get into the nuts and bolts of what we're going to see on Saturday afternoon. Another matinee game in the Canadian Football League, and it's going to be Zach Collaros under center as I pull up the Blue Bombers depth chart. Now, for our viewers out there that aren't familiar with your work, you cover the Blue Bombers daily. You are the Blue Bombers beat reporter. You, Jeff Hamilton, Josh Fry, Sam, the entire team at the Winnipeg Free Press. But you were there all week this week, talking to Bombers players, talking to the coaches. We're going to, get Mike Miller's perspective, which I thought was interesting to listen to, and the rest. But what does it mean for this team to get Zach Collaros back starting under center after missing 2 games?
Well, I mean, it goes without saying that it's massive, but I feel like lots of the guys on the team this week were kind of trying to choose their words a bit wisely. I mean, I don't think they wanted to come off super excited, in a way that would kind of make it sound like they're super happy that, they're done having Chris Trevler under center, which I'm sure deep down they are, because I know all Bomber
probably.
fans are kind of tired of the Strevolution, considering how it's looked these past few weeks. But yeah, obviously they're pumped. And I mean, Zach, we only had one open practice this week, but the one open practice that there was, I mean, Zach looked like Zach, which is what the Bombers need right now. Because again, Chris Trevler, it's mind-boggling how this man is 3-1 as a starter this year. I mean, obviously his first start against BC week 2, he was lights out, but the 3 games that he's had to start since then, I don't have to remind anyone that it has not been pretty. So, huge to get Zach back.
3 of 8 passing, and you pull out a win. 170 yards plus rushing between him and Brady Oliveira. I think Brady had 100 exactly on the ground. I think it's the defense that I was most impressed with the last couple of weeks. Like that loss in Hamilton a couple of weeks ago, that could have been a very, very different game. But Walby and I talked about it on the show last week. That could have been 52-21, not 32-21 Hamilton, if it wasn't for the Bombers defense. They bend, they don't break. Very impressive. Obviously, Trey Vavel and getting a RIP missed field goal return touchdown last week was a big reason Winnipeg was able to eke out a win against the Ottawa Red Blacks. 400 yards passing from Drew Brown, and they're still able to keep the score low. I don't know about you. I've been saying it for months here on Bonfire Sports, and great to see everybody in the live chat, by the way. Yeah, Waiters got it. The D equals solid. That's right. It's in the rundown. This team will only make noise with Zach Collaros under center, with Zach Collaros as the starting quarterback. And I think it's reassuring. I've been a little under the weather. You were there at practice. It looks like same old Collaros. This team is 7-7, but they're way better than their record with a good, playing well and healthy Zach Collaros. I think they can make some serious noise towards the playoffs here.
You know what? As big as it is that Zach is getting back, I mean, everyone's very happy about that, obviously, but that doesn't solve everything. And let's be honest. When Zach was healthy and playing, he hasn't been great this year. And yes, the O-line maybe isn't what it used to be. And yes, Jason Hogan, first-year OC, probably hasn't done him any favors. But Zach is 4-6 this year as a starter. And then even though he's missed a few games, he's played 10 games. Yep. He's second in the league in interceptions with 13 picks. He's been turning over the ball like crazy. So he hasn't been vintage MOP Zach. So yes, it's big that he's coming back. And yes, it's a positive that Chris Trevler no longer has to play an entire game for the Bombers. But this doesn't solve everything. Zach needs to be better. Otherwise, this team is exactly what their record is. A 500 team, 7-7.
This is where I'll push back on you. And I love that you're kind of disagreeing with me right now, because it drives that conversation. Zach Collaros was playing his best football of the season in the Labor Day Classic. They came up one play short of beating the best record, you could say the best team in the CFL, in the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Came down to one play on the road, and they missed the 2-point convert. But it was Zach Collaros that marched them down the field.
They didn't just miss the 2-point convert. He threw an interception.
I'm going to blame that on the play call. I didn't like that play call at all. And I was there. I asked Zach Collaros after the game, walk us through that play. Ahem, did you like the play call? I'm not going to ask that straight up, but walk us through that play call. And he answered it by saying, it's a concept that everybody in the entire league runs. But ultimately, it's on me. I'm paraphrasing, of course. You could tell he did not like that play call, throw to the wide side of the field. Overall, I haven't hated the Blue Bombers game plans. They don't run the ball against the best run defense in the league. Everybody's crying foul. Well, they did enough to run right to the finish with the Saskatchewan Roughriders. They run for 200 plus yards against Montreal the week before, a very, very good defense with Noel Thorpe. The game planning, the play calling overall, I think has been good. I don't think this is just a Jason Hogan offense. I think this is a Jarius Jackson heavily influenced offense, a Zach Collaros heavily influenced offense. But Collaros, both in the Labor Day game and the Banjo Bowl, where he was knocked out of the game by Darrelle Revis in a hit that was penalized and fined afterwards, he was playing his best football of the year. I think for Collaros, like he's taken some time to kind of settle in. That O-line is not as good as it used to be. He's been without Dalton Schoen again this season. Changes in the receiving core, new offensive coordinator, missing week 1 because of suspension, coming back for week 2, injured again, out, in, out, in, out. He finally gets that stability. He's playing his best football, and yeah, it's another injury. That's why I'm a little bit more optimistic on Zach Collaros. No, to your point, this doesn't solve all of the problems, but they have the point I'm trying to make is they have enough to get things going and to be a good, hard to beat football team this week and towards the playoffs. I think there's somebody, I don't think there's fans out there, Taylor, that think the season is lost.
It's the CFL. It's never lost until it's officially lost. And you're right. Like Zach was looking good in his last game and a half, but still, that's only a game and a half. Like most of the sample size this year, he hasn't been MOP Zach. And maybe he doesn't have to be MOP Zach. I mean, Brady in the ground game, it feels like forever ago when people were pounding the table saying, get Brady the ball more. Why isn't he touching the ball more? Because, lately he's been getting the ball lots and he's been producing. He's got back-to-back 100-yard rushing games. The last game against Hamilton, he had 110 yards rushing in the first half. Mm-hmm. And then he only had 2 carries in the second half because the game started to get away from them and whatever. But Brady's in peak MOP form, obviously. And the defense, we're going to get into the defense more, obviously, in a bit. But the defense is, playing at a great level right now as well. It feels like a lifetime ago. Again, that's another thing that feels like a lifetime ago, that everyone was questioning the Bomber secondary. This secondary has really found its game lately as well. And then the special teams, Trey Vavel, Sergio, special teams unit is as strong as this team has had, in recent memory, probably. So yeah, special teams, defense, the recipe is there in those 2 phases for this team to be able to go on a run, despite, this year being a roller coaster. But offensively, I mean, yeah, there's Zach's back, and Ontario Wilson getting him back was great, and Brady's great, and Dembski's great, but there's just been so many warts on offense this year that I wouldn't blame anyone if they're still not fully confident that this team can turn it around.
You mentioned special teams. I want to quickly mention Ethan Ball, 4 special teams tackles in Ottawa last week as a CFL rookie, 2025 draft pick. Good on him. Great performance there. You mentioned getting Ontario Wilson back. The Blue Bombers will also get Jarrett Stearns back, who's missed, what is it? It's been a couple months. I think it was that first Zach Collaros neck injury, the same game that Stearns was hurt. Getting him back is nice. But now, as you see here on the in and out on the Blue Bombers depth chart, Keurig Wheatfall, who took hellacious punishment, just an absolutely crushing blow from Ottawa Red Blacks dime back Darius Pickett. Clean. Don't expect anything to be what would you call it? Supplemental discipline, fined the rest. But now Wheatfall is out. So it's like again and again and again changes. This time it's a receiver swap. It's been offensive linemen with Vanterpool and Wallace and Lofton and Randolph at right tackle swapping in and out. There's been no continuity. And I understand that's the name of the game in football, but really difficult for Winnipeg's offense to get that semblance of continuity and consistency. For those out there, Taylor Allen of the Winnipeg Free Press, Blue Bombers beat reporter, joining us here on GameDay Winnipeg, your live Bombers pregame show here on Bonfire Sports. Chris Walby back next week, but doing a little bit of a late show here with TA to tee up Bombers Ticats. Those changes in the receiving core, getting Stearns back, I think is like what do you want to call it? Like unique timing with the loss of Carrick Wheatfall. Wheatfall's taken those hits all season long. He's a ballsy player to go across the middle like he does and take that punishment. Tough to see him go down.
He got absolutely popped on that play, but it was a football play. It's, it wasn't nothing dirty about it. That was just a good old fashioned super hard hit. And I think Strevler said after the game that he felt a little guilty about that throw and kind of putting Carrick in that situation, I guess. But yeah, that's a blow to the Bombers. But I mean, Carrick Wheatfall has been a guy where there's moments where you watch him or a game, you'll see him, you're like, man, like this guy could be like the next, like, not superstar, but like this guy could be like an all-star in this league, right? And then 2, 3, 4 games will go by and it feels like he didn't make a single play. And obviously, there's been the quarterback play this year hasn't always been top tier, I guess, but yeah, the Carrick Wheatfall experience has been pretty up and down. And I mean, the door has been wide open for this guy to have a breakout year and, really solidify himself as a really good receiver in this league. And again, he has flashed it, but it just hasn't been consistent enough from Carrick, where I feel like going into this offseason, obviously they're going to have to address the receiver position.
Yeah, I think he's somebody who they can probably get a value contract out of. I like Carrick Wheatfall. I like what he brings, can play the slot, generally is a kind of outside wide receiver spot. But yeah, I mean, especially if you have to face a reality of maybe life after Dalton Schoen, be interesting to see how that shakes out. Defensively, Jamal Parker, who back last week after missing an extended stretch of time due to injury, plays one game, and now he's out again. So Dexter Lawson Jr. back starting at corner. Demario Houston will stay there. Nichols, Holm, Allen at halfback and safety. No changes beyond Jamal Parker, but this guy's had no luck. Absolutely no luck this season, Taylor. From you talking to the defensive coordinator, Jordan Younger this week, Jason Hogan, the offensive coordinator, of course. It's got to be a tough pill to swallow for Winnipeg when they get a guy back and then he's down again.
Yeah, and I mean, Jamal Parker, he tore his ACL last year, if I remember correctly as well. So yeah, this is a guy who's been really, struggling to stay healthy. And the good news for the Bombers is Dexter Lawson Jr., who Jamal, came in and took over for it last week. I think he's been really solid. I think he's actually pretty underrated. His debut game with the Bombers, he was getting picked on a little bit. It didn't look too pretty, but yeah, Dexter Lawson Jr., I think he's been solid. So obviously a blow to lose a veteran like Parker, but I think the secondary is still in good shape though.
In your writing for the Winnipeg Free Press this week, maybe what's the storyline that stood out to you the most this week as the 7-7 Bombers try to get back above 500 again, facing the 9-5 Ticats?
So DB, I'll be honest, when you cover the Bombers on a daily basis, there are times around the midpoint of the season or just past the midpoint of the season where it's like, what on earth am I going to write about today? It's a random Wednesday in the middle of or the beginning of fall, I guess, or whatever. But this week, DB, that was not an issue. There is way too many things to write about this week. I mean, Zach, obviously, this was his first time back and available to speak since his head injury in the Banjo Bowl. So that's obviously a slam dunk of a story. And then there was this little announcement on Monday. I'm not sure if UDB or the listeners or the viewers happened to catch that, hear about that.
Yeah,
but the CFL is making a tweak or 3 to the league, and that caused quite the stir. Yeah, that caused quite the stir as well. So, I mean, obviously those are the two main talking points. But I will say this, DB. I mean, the Bombers being 7-7 at this time of year. Yes, last year they had they had a rough patch or whatever, but I've been covering this team every year since 2019. So since the beginning of this team's, epic run, whether they're 12-2 or 7-7, their demeanor, their attitude stays the same. And that might sound hard to believe. And, I'll press these guys about it. Like, this has to feel different, right? Like, since you've been with the Bombers, you guys have never been at this point of the year. And it's a question of whether or not you're even going to make the playoffs. I mean, it'd be hard for them to not make the playoffs. But the past couple of years, it's been like, okay, they basically have the West wrapped up at this point, or on pace to do that, right? So
Yeah.
this year is a lot different. But yet these guys, even after the loss in Hamilton, I was in Hamilton 2 weeks ago, and I'm talking to these guys. They're like, yeah, we'll figure it out. We're just going to stick to our day-to-day process, and all will be well and stuff. So, so I think that's kind of like one of the big talking points this week as well. It's just that these guys they're calm, cool, and collected, even though these last 4 games, it's going to get pretty hectic and down to the wire, obviously.
Yeah, it's a huge game on Saturday afternoon, 2:00. We'll get the post-game show going. Myself, 𝘽𝙤𝙤𝙧𝙯, immediately following the game, Game Day After Dark here on Bonfire Sports. But Taylor, that's my point. That really leads to my point about why I have a lot of optimism about this team, is that it doesn't matter if they're 7-1 or 7-7. They have that same workmanlike mentality, that same even keel, calm, cool, collected, that Mike O'Shea culture that he has instilled over a decade plus here in Winnipeg. That's why I feel like it doesn't matter what happened last week or a month ago, or how bad they played or how good they played or who they're playing next. The Ticats are the best record in the East right now. I don't think they're the best team in the East. They have the best road record in the CFL. They have struggled against the West. So there's a lot kind of at play there when you look at the Ticats and where they are. Their roster's pretty much unchanged from the team that Winnipeg faced in Hamilton a couple weeks ago. This Blue Bombers team, because of the way they're coached, it doesn't matter who their opponent is. It doesn't matter who's in or out of the lineup, as long as they got enough horses. We saw that last week. They had a horse that was running on 2 back legs and didn't have the front ones to, throw the football. Terrible metaphor, terrible analogy on my part. But, a 3 completion game from your quarterback, and you still find a way to win when the opponent is stacking the box on defense. The other team's quarterback throws for 400 yards, Drew Brown, and they still keep the score super low. That's why I think with a healthy Zach Collaros, this team can make some noise. You're still pushing back on me a little bit there.
I need to see some better play from Zach first. But yeah, I mean, you're totally right. Like, the world is their oyster. They could still host the West semifinal. The Calgary Stampeders are, they're showing some cracks right now, obviously. And the BC Lions are surging. They're playing some fantastic football right now. So it's getting really interesting in the West. But yeah, I mean, a few weeks ago, it felt impossible for the Bombers to, jump ahead of Calgary, especially since they lost the season series against the Stamps. But you can't rule it out now. If they win, 3 of the next 4 or all 4, I mean, there's a good chance that Princess Auto Stadium is hosting a playoff game, which people did not expect a month or 2 ago. And then there's also the possibility of them being a crossover team, which I think would be kind of exciting, honestly. I mean, we all know the history. No crossover team has ever made it to the Grey Cup and won it. But I mean, this has been the most interesting final stretch to the regular season that this team has had, probably since 2019, honestly. So yeah, I'm not a doubter. Like, I'm around these guys every day, and they're so positive, and they all believe, and obviously they still have a ton of talent, so it wouldn't surprise me. But again, it boils down to the quarterback play. They need some better play out of the quarterback, whether it's number 8 or number 17. But yes, I know no one wants it to be number 17 ever again this year. So
Frosty, Jets girl, others, they like the horse metaphor. I think it's me embodying my inner Chris Walby. He's a horse. He's a horse. I love that when he gets fired up about a guy being, a purebred, a thoroughbred, athlete and that sort of thing. Chris will be back next week. If you're just joining us a little bit late, Taylor Allen of the Winnipeg Free Press, Blue Bombers beat reporter, joining us here on Game Day Winnipeg on Bonfire Sports. So I want to talk about the rules, and it's been beaten to death all week. Okay. And I've had people calling me, saying, hey, DB, need you to do a show, need you, want your perspective, all of that. Taylor, as well as everybody, amateur football is in my blood. I played this game till I was 21, 22 years old. I coached for a year with the St. James Rods. I've worked with the Winnipeg Rifles junior football program and been a proud board member for many years. There's going to be implications of these rule changes spanning far and wide. Okay, we know that. And for those out there that need a refresher, you can stay right here on the Bonfire Sports channel. Just click on videos and you can watch a video I put up there of the new CFL. And it is, of course, a little bit of Stuart Johnston, the Canadian Football League commissioner, speaking, and then their really well done video laying out all of the new rules for 2026 and 2027. But Taylor, I'll just put it this way. Okay. There's all of the rules. Instead of dissecting each and every one, I'll say this. Overall, I don't hate them. I think they did everything they could to maintain the integrity of Canadiana and the Canadian in Canadian football. It's a 3-down, 65-yard, full motion, 12-on-12 football game. And there's your changes there, okay? However, what I don't like is how they rolled it out. I can understand why fans are very anxious, full of angst and anger and fear, because the commissioner has been on the job for less than a year. He's a TV guy. Okay. He's a private school educated Southern Ontario guy, TV executive, worked his way up the ranks at TSN very fast from an intern to president of TSN in like 11 years. It's incredible. Like 10 years. And he comes into this job and he doesn't talk to players, at least on the record. He said he planted questions in doing a listening tour. So he didn't say, hey, look, we're going to make some rule changes. What needs to be done? What do you think of moving the goalposts? What do you think of, changing the length of whatever? He planted questions. He was not forthcoming. He made everybody that was in the know sign a non-disclosure agreement. He had, what did he say? Enthusiastic, unanimous support from the Board of Governors. Okay, so yeah, that's Wade Miller, that's Jeremy O'Day, two former CFL players that are head of their respective teams, the Blue Bombers, the Saskatchewan Roughriders, as well as the rest of the Board of Governors, but didn't talk to GMs, didn't talk to players, didn't talk to coaches. He never mentioned anything about his, officiating department, Darren Hackwood, and, that entire, Al Bradbury, who's, high up in the Canadian Football League officiating. He's in charge of the used to be the command center, the review center. Didn't mention anything. He said football experts, but he talked about digital media. He talked about marketing and are they football experts because they work in the Canadian Football League? Or are they actually football experts? Like, you're not talking to Dave Dickinson. You're not talking to Kyle Walters. You're not talking to Bob Dice. You're not talking to Jason Moss. You're not talking to Buck Pierce. You're not talking to Mike O'Shea. I don't get it. Why are you not talking to Zach Collaros and Adam Bighill? Why are you not talking to Nathan Rourke before he calls them garbage? Why aren't you talking to Mike Miller before he says, like, how did he describe it to you, Taylor? When
he said,
Blue Bombers special teams coordinator Mike Miller.
Yeah, he said he felt sick to his stomach when he saw the rule changes. And DB, I'll say this. So working for the Winnipeg Free Press, I'm very fortunate to work for a media outlet that still travels for the CFL. So I'm very lucky I get to see, the other CFL markets in action and whatnot.
Huge kudos to you guys. Yep.
And I'm sad to report that the atmosphere in basically every other city other than Regina is is not up to par, right? Like, I don't know if Winnipeggers realize how good we have it here. Even Hamilton, I was there 2 weeks ago. That's a great football city. The vibe at the game, whatever, Calgary, Edmonton, Alberta, Toronto's Toronto. That's never probably ever going to get better, whatever. But like Alberta, big issue right now. So there's a lot of concerns with this league. Like it's not looking pretty outside of the prairies, if we're being honest. So I really respect the fact that this new commissioner, Stuart Johnston, within his first 6 months, within his first 5 months, actually, isn't afraid to make a splash because this league needs change. However, with that said, I don't understand how these rules are going to move the needle whatsoever in a positive direction. How is moving the goalposts back? How is, the 35-second clock and everything else they're doing, how is any of that going to lead to more fans? And I know they're arguing, well, it's going to lead to more offense and more touchdowns, so people love that. That's not the CFL's issue, though. The CFL, there's more scoring in the CFL than the NFL, and there's actually been more scoring in the CFL this season than there's been since I think 2005. So this is it's a high scoring product. It's a very entertaining product. So again, I like that he's not scared to make a move. I just don't get how this move is going to help the CFL get the help that it needs. So yeah,
this is what I think.
I don't hate the rules, but I just don't fully really get the point of it either.
I kind of do. My take is that I wish he would have been more forthcoming or straightforward in saying, we need to attract new fans. I understand the PR messaging that's not a good thing. But to me, these changes, moving the goalpost and getting rid of I hate the term loser point. Okay. I've gone on long rants about the Rouge. I won't fill everybody's ears and eyes with that anymore, but it's a field position game. If you score a single, it means you're not scoring 3, you're not scoring 6, you're scoring 1. You're still rewarded for your field position, but I digress. Getting rid of that, getting rid of those 2 points, those 2 rules, is all about an American from South Carolina, Oregon, Texas, Wisconsin, wherever they're from. When they flip on the TV on CBS Sportsnet, it looks a little bit more like football to them. Okay. So they needed to move the goalposts. I get that. Because you move the goalposts, you have to shorten the field. I'm going to miss the center line, the C on the field. I love, like it's used to stand for Canada, right? The 55, the center line. I'm going to miss that. But if you're going to move the goalposts back to the back of the end zone, you have to shorten the field, because right now, like if you kept them 20-yard end zones, like if you're sitting on the 20-yard line, that's a 47-yard field goal. Okay. So like you get to the 25, you're pretty much in the red zone. It's what I call the score zone when I'm doing play-by-play for Rifles games. Kind of inside the 30. That's a 50+ yard field goal if you're doing it that way. So you have to shorten the field. You have to shorten the end zones because you want that continuity from field to field to field, whether you're in Montreal with the rounded corners or BMO in Toronto with, 18-yard end zones, all of that. So I understand why they had to shorten the field. It's just a reality of moving those goalposts. But to me, this is all about the changes that they made is all about making the game look a little bit more digestible for the 350 million people in the United States that live, breathe, and die football like we here in Canada do hockey. Because that is a huge untapped market. I'm not talking about U.S. expansion and bringing a team to St. Louis. Used to be Baltimore back in the day. They got an NFL team now. It would be St. Louis would be the hotbed if the CFL expanded. I'm not saying that. But to me, it makes it more digestible to growing the game down there.
And I get that. I get that argument for sure, but it's also it's kind of funny the timing that they announced these rule changes, because I mean the Bombers' last game, what was the most exciting play of that game?
Mm-hmm.
Trey Vovel's, record, Bombers record-breaking missed field goal return for a touchdown, and then basically 2 minutes later, the league saying, "Yeah, that play is not really going to be a thing anymore." So obviously, that wasn't the best timing for that. That's for sure. But I don't know. I really do see both sides of it, and I'm trying to look at a glass half full, and maybe when we all see it in action, it won't be as bad as people think. And I hear lots of people saying, even in the chat, saying, I'm going to cancel my season tickets over this, and I respect the passion and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
but I think that's a bit drastic. I mean, they're not getting rid of three downs. They didn't touch the ratio. There's still the waggle.
That's Halo
Um,
ground. The three
exactly.
downs. Yeah.
Exactly. And for me, as long as that stuff stays, it's Canadian football.
Yeah.
And yes, there's, all these other little, nuances to the game that, add that extra Canadiana to it. But as long as the key components stay the same, it's still Canadian football. And I still think if you love football and you're Canadian, you should be supporting it. But I mean, let's be honest though, the fact that not every end zone in the CFL as is are the same size. Montreal, they have the shortened end zone because they have the track that goes around the field. Toronto, that's a soccer stadium. They don't have the full 20-yard end zone as well. Kind of bush league, so I can understand why maybe they'd want to tweak the end zone so it's actually the same size, literally in every single stadium. But yeah, there isn't a single rule that they changed that I'm like super like gung ho about. But yeah, let's give it some time, people. Let's
I,
see it in action first.
I think that's exactly it. Let's give it a chance. Let it digest a little bit before you start saying, I'll never watch another CFL game in my life. The Rouge, I didn't like, that's the one rule I didn't like too much, them changing, but
I like them changing that one. I think Stuart Johnston's argument for it was made the most sense. Could you imagine if this hasn't happened yet, but could you imagine if there was a Grey Cup that ended on a missed field goal and the team gets the Rouge and they win by one? That clip would be on every single late night talk show, maybe over all over the world, or at least the States, obviously. But
yeah,
yeah, that would be a horrendous look for the league. And I like the Rouge. I like the element that adds to the game and stuff. But I think the tweak that they made to the Rouge, that's the rule that I'll give 2 thumbs up on for sure.
I still can't be convinced about the loser point being a loser point. Football is about field position. Okay. Now, first of all, you're moving the goalposts. So getting there is that much more difficult to kick a field goal. Okay. But if you reach the end zone, you get 6 points. You reach the end zone a second time, you get 2 more. Or you kick the convert, you get 1 more, you get 7. Okay. If you can't reach the end zone, but you're close, you kick a field goal through those uprights, you get 3 points. You get triple what a Rouge would be, because that was the nature of the rule in its natural elemental reason of being instituted in rugby football and gridiron football, is that you give that single point because the other team is so backed up. Well, no, you didn't score a touchdown. You didn't kick a field goal. You get the single. You're not getting 7. You're not getting 3. You're getting 1 point. And if a game was decided on a Rouge, well, it comes down to clock management, field position management, and where you are on the field. If you lose on a single, it's because you couldn't keep the other team from getting close to your end zone. It's that simple. So I understand. I get it. I'm a purist. I'm a nuts and bolts, deep football dive. I get it. Not everybody's going to agree with me there, but that's kind of where I stand with the Rouge. Look, really need to mention this. Bart O, who is in the live chat often, was in the live chat earlier, said I couldn't make the show, going to the Heights for dinner. How about that? Are you looking for legendary ribs and steaks in Winnipeg? Well, the Silver Heights restaurant has got you covered. Hit the Heights in sunny St. James. Silver Heights Restaurant and Lounge serves up your favorites, mouth-watering seafood, hearty Canadian classics, cozy vibes, and a family-run Winnipeg institution since 1957. The Heights has dine-in, takeout, delivery, free parking, great beer selection, and they are Winnipeg's original sports bar. Watch the Jets, the Bombers, the NFL, and more on their monster screen in the lounge. Tons of multiple TVs as well. Open late, Silver Heights Restaurant, 2169 Portage Avenue, just west of Assiniboine Park. Order, book online, and find more at silverheightsrestaurant.ca. You tell them the Bonfire Boys sent you. Go see Tony and JC. There they are at the Heights. You won't regret it. Big thanks to them for supporting us here on Bonfire Sports. Tradition tastes great, as they say. Best ribs in town by a mile. There they are. Oh my God. I can't get enough. Go check them out at the Heights. You won't regret it. Scott Westman asking, the lounge at the Heights, 110 or 100 yards long. I know they're about 75 years old. I don't know if they're 100 yards long. But good times will be had there. Taylor, in the end, I think we learned a lot about ourselves as Canadians and as football fans. Like you and I were, of the journalistic ilk and reporters covering this team, but we are fans of this game in the end. We want this league to grow. We want it to prosper. And 2 out of 9 teams made money last year. To your point, people in Winnipeg, I don't think they know how good they got it. It says a lot. I should say it will say a lot about the future of this league. If they're able to continue to grow that bottom line and get, ownership, I think is stable, but get the coffers, get the revenue up to where it needs to be. And a bigger TV deal with attracting, millions of people down south when there's no NFL football, I think will be very, very important.
Yeah, the status quo is not sustainable. So I just think more changes are going to come in the coming years, if I'm being honest. And I'm not saying that means 4 downs and getting rid of the ratio, and that doesn't mean the Memphis Mad Dogs are coming back to the league. But I think
was that your team? Was that your team? Yeah.
Great jerseys. If I ever come across a Memphis Mad Dogs uni,
Dunnigan Memphis Mad Dogs
at a Village or something. Oh,
had
baby,
the dog right on the front of the jersey here.
Yeah,
The dog's
there you
face.
go.
Oh yeah.
See, there you go. But yeah, I think people need to be kind of comfortable with the idea that things are going to change with this league. So again, like I said, as long as the key things don't change, the 3 downs and the waggle and the ratio, I think, for the purists, for the traditionalists, the people that have been following the CFL for decades, this might just be the beginning. And I'm not happy about that. I mean, my earliest childhood memories growing up in Winnipeg are going to Canada Stadium, watching Kahari, watching Milt, watching Mike Sellers and Charlie Roberts and Robert Gordon, and
me too, man.
Pissing in the trough, between quarters. I mean, didn't get any better than that. And getting a Salisbury, nip at halftime and whatever, like that was,
drinking beers, walking to the stadium. That's what I used to do. Like walk through those back roads of St. James up to this, like just crushing a couple beers. Yeah. Sorry to that family. I could always throw empties over their fence. Sorry about that.
Well, I wasn't doing that when I was 8 years old, but that does sound fun.
I was doing when I was 18. That's for sure.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm a little bit older than you, but yeah. Great.
But it's heartbreaking. It is seriously heartbreaking pulling up to McMahon Stadium on game day and my Uber driver saying, "Oh, what's happening here?" I'm like, "What do you mean it's happening here? It's a CFL football game, and same thing in Edmonton and Hamilton, and Toronto's Toronto, and Montreal's not much better, but it's heartbreaking." So yeah, things need to happen, and again, I don't really think these rule changes is the solution, and I don't really fully get it. And his approach definitely could have been better and whatnot. But I think let's all just take a step back. Let's let Stuart, let's see his vision. Randy Ambrosie, one of the nicest guys you could meet. He did some good things for the league, but
Former player.
Yeah, but what
Stuart
was
Johnson?
what's his legacy, right? Like, what's the big
Not-
splash that Randy Ambrosie did that helped this league, move forward? And obviously, COVID and stuff didn't help. That was a knuckleball
For
that no
sure.
one could have predicted and whatever. But yeah, having a fresh perspective, someone who's not your traditional background for a commissioner could be a good thing for the CFL, or it could be an utter disaster. I don't know. You don't know. No one knows. We're gonna find out. But
when you said the
I'm
word,
playing the wait and see game.
When you for sure, I'm in the same boat. I want to wait and see. I don't hate the rules. It's how he did it. When you said his vision for the league, this is a TV executive, right? Talk to football people first. That's all I'm saying.
I think he knew what they were going to say, though. I think that's probably why he didn't.
Well,
I think if he called up Mike O'Shea, he's well aware that Mike O'Shea was going to say, "No, don't you dare change any of these rules." So I think there's a reason why he didn't. Them. Doesn't change anything, though. Doesn't change anything.
But he changed a bunch of stuff. Maybe he wouldn't have gone 15-yard end zones. Maybe he would have kept them 20. Maybe he would have tweaked the Rouge rules differently if you talk to football people about it first. That's all I'm saying. Big thanks to T. Conapoli for the $10 super chat. DB, has Collaros practiced with the Guardian lid? Would you consider using it the rest of the season? The Guardian lid, for people, that's the kind of a soft foam overlay they put over the helmet for increased protection. He hasn't. I don't think he would either.
There isn't a single bomber that practices with the Guardian cap. And just for some more on Zach and his head injury and head scare, he did say he wouldn't go into great detail, but he did say today that no stone was left unturned to make sure that he was able to play. And he mentioned that was important for him and his family, and obviously the organization. So he. By everything he's saying, they did all the tests and talked to all the right people to prove that he can play football again, or it's at least somewhat safe for him to resume
cleared
playing
to play.
Football
Yeah.
again.
And you know what? Hearing him this week saying, look, it's nobody should get between a man and his ability to make a living for his family, and that's between him and his family. The whole Milt Stiegel perspective on it, all that. I've always respected Zach Collaros. I think he's somebody that's very measured and very thoughtful. And how he shared it this week in talking about that, I thought, like, you know what? He is his own man, and he is only responsible to himself and his family, his wife, his children, the rest. That's for them to decide what's best. We don't know what, you don't know what a person's circumstances are, right? There could be so many things that would say, you know what, maybe it's not the safest thing for me to do, but I'm still going to go do it because my family needs it. And it's easy for us on the outside to say, or somebody on the outside to say, wow, you need $500,000 before tax in Canadian, but to support you don't need that. You don't know what his situation is. You don't know what he had. Like, you don't know. So there's a lot that can go into. So I respect Zach Collaros a lot. Quickly here, Charlie Dufo. Always love your comments, Charlie. DB, I disagree with every time the Rouge point off a missed field goal. You miss, you get 0. If I miss and you want me to get 0, bring it out. Oh, you can't do that anymore. Maybe they should have kept that in. But it's on you. If I miss the field goal, I'm still, guess what? If you don't want me to attempt a field goal, keep me out of your end. 2 and out me. You can't guard me. That's what you got to do. So if you want 1 point, 1 little point, if you don't want me to score that point, return it. I'm going to miss these conversations in the next few years. But great comment. Thanks, Charlie, for that. Okay, Taylor, in light of Chris Walby being on the 1-game injured list and being back next week, I'm playing hurt right now, but I'm going to push through. You're 100%. You're playing at your peak right now. Everybody hoping that 𝘎𝙤𝙤𝙧𝙚 embodies your state of play in week 17. Let's go back and forth with one key to the game. I think you and I can bring 2 keys to Chris Walby's normal 3 as we wrap things up here on GameDay Winnipeg.
Well, I think the biggest key to the game for the Bombers is stop turning the damn ball over. It's that simple. It feels like I've been asking this team about turnovers for 14 weeks, and well, basically I have been, because that doesn't matter if Strevler's been quarterback or Collaros has been quarterback. Both these guys are throwing picks left, right, and center. Yeah, it has not been pretty, and that's the big reason why they are 500. Honestly, they're kind of lucky to be 500 considering that they lead the league in turnovers. So, yeah, biggest thing is take care of the football. And Hamilton, I believe they're number 1 in the league in scoring points off of turnovers, and we saw it in that game in Hamilton 2 weeks ago how they took full advantage of all of Strevy's interceptions. So for the Bombers to knock off the top dog in the East, they're gonna have to play a much cleaner football game.
I agree with you there. I'll come back and say a key for Winnipeg is to continue playing that sharp defense. If you let Bo Levi Mitchell, Kenny Lawler, and what did I call it? Bully Bell, Greg Bell. If you let that Hamilton Tiger Cats offense dictate what happens on Saturday afternoon, the Bombers will be in trouble. My key is for the defense to continue to play that stifling bend, don't break style. Sorry, I got distracted. Charlie Dufo. See, that's why I like your comments. You got a kid on the rifles. Cousin plays for the rifle up. Hashtag rifle up. Big game this Sunday at 2:00. Winnipeg's defense is the reason that they're sitting at 7-7 right now. To your point, like they're fortunate to be 7-7. I think, yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. If you lose the turnover battle, you're going to lose the game. If Winnipeg allows Bo Levi and Greg Bell to go off on Saturday, they're going to lose the game too. But I don't expect that to be the case. I think Winnipeg will win. Being on home turf, 𝘎𝙤𝙧𝙧𝙧𝙯 back in the lineup. You lose Wheatfall, but you get Jarrett Stearns. You lose Jamal Parker, but I think overall it's probably a net 0. No disrespect to Jamal, but Lawson has played well, and the defense, I think overall will be good. John, welcome, John. Yes, Collaros starting this weekend for the Bombers. I think Winnipeg is going to be in good shape. I expect them to pull out a win. I think they're a 1-point favorite, aren't they? Yeah. Well, Taylor, final thoughts.
I'm not a gambler.
I know you're not. I know you're not a gambler. I know I'm not a gambler either. Can't say about our friend and colleague Jeff Hamilton. He likes to, well, I should say it was the WST poker tournament that he won for a second time.
Fantasy football already ruins my football viewing experience, so I don't need to add gambling to the mix to just make it so much worse. But another thought to the game, I mean, the Bombers got to slow down their old friend, number 89, Kenny Lawler. I mean, he has at career highs across the board, even with 4 games left. Receptions, touchdowns, yards. He is in the MLP race. Collaros himself even said today that he thinks Kenny Lawler is the MLP of the league this year. And he had 97 yards against the Bombers the last time they played. Kenny's playing some of his best football. And, I sat down with Kenny 2 weeks ago. And I barely even asked him a question. He just went off about just how disrespected he felt by the Bombers, how they waited to the last minute to offer him a contract. And they signed Dylan Mitchell before me. And Kenny was a guy that was living in Winnipeg. He was, doing events in the community, wanted to do some more football camps and get more into coaching and stuff. And I mean, obviously there's 2 sides to every story. And, Kenny, we're all, Kenny's Kenny, right? He's quite the character. And, we all know his past and whatever. But yeah, he was pissed and he wasn't shy in my chat with him 2 weeks ago. So now this will be his first game back in Winnipeg since he left for Hamilton, and you can't tell me that he's not fired up and going to be itching to have a big game. So for the Bombers to win, they're going to need to slow down number 89.
I gotta say, I really like Kenny Lawler as a person. When he was on the practice roster, and I remember, coming up in the locker room, and he's like, "Oh, this media guy wants to talk to me," and I was like, "I love your game." Like, I could see it. He was going to be a really good player, just a unique skill set. Like, he was making those sticky finger catches in practice when he was just on the PR. I like Kenny a lot.
Good dude.
But
He's
what
been
he
great to us
shared with
media
you,
guys. Yeah.
when the Winnipeg Free Press, made the investment as you guys always do with the Jets and the Bombers and other things as well, Grey Cups, whether the Bombers are in it or not, to send reporters on the road. And you were in Hamilton talking to him. I read that piece. I'm like, you know what? It sounds like the same stuff he said about Edmonton when he was there, the same stuff he said about BC when he was there and then became a Blue Bomber. It sounded, that's Kenny's chip. That's the chip on Kenny's shoulder. So, wasn't surprised to learn that perspective in your piece there, Taylor.
Yeah. No, that's fair. And I'd agree with that. But I think we have to mention one more former Bomber, DB. It's not just Kenny. They actually have a billion former Bombers on the Ticats, but good old Mark Lakio. He's
Mm-hmm.
the best kicker in the league right now. He's kicking 95%. He kicked 5 field goals against Edmonton last week, booted a 41-yarder into the wind for the win, sorry. Here's a guy that got ran out of town, and if I'm being honest, kind of rightfully so. And with
Struggled as a
kickers,
Blue Bomber. Yeah.
yeah, for sure. And he was a young player in whatever, but yeah, he struggled for sure, especially at the big stage. Not that anyone needs to be reminded, but yeah, with kickers, once they get released, it's either they vanish into the night and they maybe get another opportunity, and they are who they are, and they never turn it around, or they get picked up by a different team and something just clicks mentally, and then they figure it out and away they go. And that's been the case for Lakio. So yeah, I was talking to Sergio Castillo about it a bit today, and he was just saying how happy he is for Mark Lakio. So DB, this will be a battle of two of the best kickers in the league. So if people weren't already fired up to watch
The
this
reason,
one, now
it's
I've
the reason it's
another
13
reason.
straight sellouts,
So
right?
there you go.
That's great. Well, hey, Taylor, I really appreciate you taking the time on a Friday night to get into GameDay Winnipeg with me and stepping into those huge size 17. Honestly, I don't even know how big his feet are. They probably are size 17 of Chris Walby. He'll be back next week, but big thanks for this. Where can people find your work? Where can they follow you? Break it all down for us.
Yeah, you bet. Well, appreciate you having me on. But yeah, like you said, reporter for the Winnipeg Free Press. So you can find me on our website. And of course, if you're old school, pick up a copy of the paper as well, or subscribe. Actually, I should be saying that. People subscribing to the Free Press is what allows us to be, and I'm not exaggerating when I say this, to be the only media outlet in the country, not the province, in the country that still
Yes.
travels for the CFL. So yeah, so if you want to find me, head to the Winnipeg Free Press. But just DB, just in closing, I want to say, earlier I was saying how lucky Winnipeggers are, right? Just the atmosphere of Bomber games and how electric it is, and how it's not the same in other markets. And the same goes for this, man. Like, how many other CFL teams, or even how many other teams in general, name any league, have an awesome platform like this, Bonfire Sports, where they can hop on, have a chat, bond with other fans, tell us how stupid we are when we say something that they disagree with or whatever, right after the game, before the game. Yeah, this community that you've created, man, is awesome. So, when I was growing up as a Bomber fan, I wish I had something like this. So yeah, I think Winnipeggers are lucky in more ways than one, and you play a big part in that, man.
I appreciate that a lot. It really is all because of the fans out there, supporting Bonfire, supporting Winnipeg Sports Talk, Kenny and Rennie, Illegal Curve. We all know, the fall of TSN radio, for a lack of a better term. And, we're glad to do it. But yeah, couldn't do it without a true Winnipeg and Manitoba sports fervent market. Everybody out there, big thanks to all of you fire starters, whatever your affiliation is. Thank you for supporting us, and hit that thumbs up, subscribe like you do to the Winnipeg Free Press, subscribe to Bonfire Sports, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell and all those things. And you can find us on social media at Bonfire WPG. Links to all that, BonfireSports.ca. Waiter's YouTube channel, of course. Everybody has to check that out too. Thanks to everybody. Blue and Goldens, Monica, Dan Jets fan, Wesley, Charlie, everybody. And of course, got to thank 𝘽𝙤𝙤𝙧𝙨 for the super chat. Taylor, beers on me next time you and I are out together, buddy, because of 𝘽𝙤𝙤𝙧𝙨 and his super chat. So big thanks to that. We'll flip over now and maybe take in a little preseason hockey game, maybe a little CFL action around the country, and we'll get into the Bombers game at 2:00 tomorrow, and then we'll get the postgame show going. But thanks again, Taylor. Appreciate this, man.
Yeah, you bet. Anytime. Preseason hockey. Ugh,
yeah,
yuck.
I know. Is McDavid playing? Maybe McDavid's
it's football
playing.
season. It's football season. We'll get to the hockey later.
Fair enough.
Thanks for having that. Blast.
Yeah. How about the Jays? No kidding.
Them too. There you go.
Yeah. All right, everybody. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you on Game Day After Dark here on Bonfire Sports.